Welcome to this video on the closing price versus settlement price strategy. And this comes into play very importantly when you're using any type of indicators or techniques that have to do with calculating the closing price of bars. Whether it's indicators or intraday, for example, if you're using floor trader pivots, this would be one of the biggest places where this could really dramatically affect, potentially, where your floor trader pivots end up. And so if you're finding that you're drawing floor trader pivots based off the open, high, low, close, running it through the formula, and the levels are not working for you, don't dismiss them. It might be that you're using the wrong price for close, and it could be dramatically off. So let me show you an example of that right now. So here we've got the NASDAQ futures. So this was NASDAQ 100 futures. This was Friday, the 17th of November. And if we come here, first of all, if we go to the New York close, these times down below our California times. So 1300 is 1 o'clock California time, which is, of course, 4 o'clock New York time. So that's the New York close, but we don't use that for futures. So if you're trading stocks, you would. But for futures, we go to 15 minutes after the hour, and there we go. So you notice if down at the bottom where it shows the time, that's 13:15. If I go to the very next bar, market closes and opens back up again 15 minutes later. So 13:31 is when that bar closes. So these are just 1-minute bars. I did that to get very precise timing on each one of these. In fact, if you go to the CMEgroup.com website and you go to the data section, you can pull up the settlement prices, and it will give you the open, high, low, close, and settlement for every market, every contract, and you can see the numbers there after all is said and done and after all the dust has settled, so to say. Well, they've got the last price listed as 63.0975. They've got settlement listed as 63.1325. And by the way, the last price traded and the close and the settlement can be three different things. So that's where it gets a little confusing for people sometimes. So what? Is the last price traded the close? Answer is no. And the reason for that, part of the reason I believe, is because if they use the last price traded, somebody could throw in a last trade at a weird price and really throw off the stats of everything. So it's a good thing they don't do that. Settlement is the official number you really want. So when you go to the exchange, and this is the best way to get the settlement number, is whatever exchange you're trading on, go to the exchange website, check out the market that you're trading, and look at their official settlement number. That, again, the term is settlement. And that's the number that I would use for my floor trader pivots when typing in the close. So the settlement for this day was 63.1325. Now, the last price is listed on the CME Group website at 63.0975. And that's because they go over here, and there we go, I had to click on it. So if you look at the close of that bar, it's 63.0975. Well, dang, that's a big difference, right? That's 3.5 point difference between the last price traded and what they call the settlement. So 3.5 points is going to make a big difference when you plug that in as to how your floor trader pivots plot. So make sure you use the right number. In other words, if you're using the number on your chart, see, here's what a lot of people do. They will just go to their chart and they would use either that number, or they would go to 15 minutes after the top of the hour and they would use that number, 63.1275. Not what you want to do. So it can't depend on your charts. This is the bottom line point. Do not depend on your charts for the close of the day. You've got to wait until after all is said and done. And by the way, there is a whole procedure for how they determine settlement. Basically, several tiers in the way that they will do it, depending on what happens. It might be based on volume weighted average price of the last 30 seconds of trading, or the midpoint of the low bid and the high ask. Or, there's a couple of different ways that they will do it in different months, different contract months too, have different rules. So no reason to go through all of that. Bottom line is just get the right number. The way to get the right number is to go to the exchange. Now, let's look at a daily chart. So if you're trading off of a daily chart, then, of course, again, whatever the close is on the daily chart that's plotted or printed on your daily chart, that's going to affect your indicators. Any indicators that use the calculation of the close of the bar, especially. So now we're not talking about affecting the floor trader pivots. We're talking about really any indicators that use the close. Now, so what you want to do is you want to go to, so here's this day, the 17th. So you got to click on this to get it again, activate the right bar. All right, so there it is, same day that we're talking about. And you'll notice that on mine, now I'm using kinetic data. And they do have as the close 63.1325, which is the same as what is printed at the CMEgroup.com for settlement that day. So that's good. That's what you want. I would encourage you to check that out. See if your data provider, whoever it is giving you that number as the close on your daily charts. Because if it is, you're golden. And if it's not, well, things are going to be a little different. This is why sometimes people say, hey, how come my indicators look a little different than yours, even though I've got the same settings and all of that? It's not the indicator that is messing you up. It is just simply that perhaps the data is just a little bit different. And since the indicator is using that data to plot its patterns, it'll show up a little different too. So double check on that. Good thing to check. And, you can ask your data provider. And by the way, your data provider may or may not be the same company that provides your charting software, or may not be the same company that is your brokerage firm. So you've got to go to the data provider. This is a data issue, not necessarily a brokerage issue or a charting software issue. All right. So that's it. Might seem like a little thing. And a lot of times it is. Frankly, a lot of times the difference between the close or the last price traded or settlement is not very much. So I think on this day in the S&P, it only was about 2 ticks off. So that wasn't too much. And there's days when it will be very close. Then there's other days that, like this day, 3.5 point difference. Now that's pretty significant. And yes, that will make a difference. So if you found this video helpful, if you learned something new, then great. Hey, you've got a moral obligation to pay it forward. Go ahead and click the share button below. That's really the best thing you can do to help other people get access to this same information and to encourage me to continue to create these free tutorials for you. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. That way you'll get notified every time I come out with a new tutorial about once a week. Click that beautiful thumbs up icon, and I especially love your comments. Those also encourage me to continue to create new lessons. By the way, I've got a really special offer to my YouTube subscribers, meaning you. I'm giving you one of my favorite trade strategies called the rubber band trade. It has a very, very high win-loss ratio, and I'm going to teach you the whole trade, all the rules. It's a simple trade, so I can do it in about 26 short minutes, and you can get it absolutely free by clicking on the image in the top right corner of this video or in the description below the video. And if you're not watching on YouTube, you're seeing this video somewhere else, no problem. There's probably a link below or an opt-in form on the side. Once you do that, I will personally email the video to you with the rubber band trade strategy.